Alright, what's up guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Supergirl, Season 1, Episode 17, Manhunter. After last week, I honestly thought, how are they going to go from here? Is it another one of those episodes where really good this week, and then next week's like, and then the next week's like, and then the next week, and then they have one good one, and No, it was actually last week was really really good, and this week still good. Not as good as last week. Last week was something out of nowhere from as far as Supergirl goes, as far as the season goes. It was just out of nowhere how good it was. Whereas the rest of the season's kind of been they've had a couple good ones and then really bad ones. But yeah, this is a good follow up to that because Martian Manhunter John Johns has been captured by the DEO and is being questioned by a Colonel James Harper, along with Lucy Lane being involved too. And it's funny because this is the first time that I've been frustrated with this show, but not because of the show. And this has happened in other TV shows as well. I mean, I've been binge watching Daredevil all weekend. There are some decisions made by the characters that are frustrating in that show. Same for this. It's like the show itself is not frustrating. I'm enjoying it while watching it. But James Harper and Lucy Lane just really pissed me off this episode. And it's a good type of pissed off. It's like they wrote these characters specifically to piss the audience off. It's on purpose. It's not, oh guys, look at this, isn't this great? And we're all like sitting there going, no, that was stupid, and I hate you now. This show has brought out the worst of me at times. Anyway, but yeah, so it was interesting to finally be frustrated because the show wants you to be frustrated. They actually got you frustrated on purpose, and the reason is because they're acting like idiots this whole time. I mean, from the very beginning, whenever these guys step in, I'm just like, really? Like, what did John Johns do? Like, he hasn't been doing anything bad. He hasn't been evil. He didn't attack anybody. He attacked Supergirl when she was attacking people. He saved people, in fact. And you come in and you're just like, we're going to arrest this guy, and we're going to find out if anybody had anything to do with it. And, it did seem out of nowhere. But the really nice thing about it is they didn't leave it unexplained. At first I was like, let me guess, they just hate him because. That's going to be their reasoning, just because he's an alien. That's the only reason they need to hate him. He hasn't done anything wrong, but that's the only reason they hate him. Because this show has done that before. With the what's-her-face? I think she's a senator. The one that was in the last episode too, that was kind of hitting on Hank before she found out he was an alien. In the first episode we saw her, she just hated aliens because, and then she actually started liking aliens just because. It was actually Hank Henshaw that saved her, but she was like, oh yeah, Supergirl's great, and it's like she didn't do anything to save you. So I honestly did think they were just gonna go, he hates Hank Henshaw because he's an alien, and that's all you need to know. But they had a good reason. One, the original Hank Henshaw was really close friends with James Harper. So finding out that John Johns was the reason he died, that was one reason. And also they have another, it's called Project Campus, I think. At first it sounded like they said canvas, and I'm like, what? And then I think it said campus. But they have this thing called Project Campus where they like torture aliens, extract DNA, trying to save human lives. Which I wonder if Maxwell Lord has anything to do with that, because it sounds eerily similar to what he's been trying to do with Supergirl. Anyway. But they had a good reason for it, and I like that. The one thing, though, that stood out to me is like, really? Why? It just, I don't know. It's the one problem I have with this episode. They're interviewing Alex. She tells her story, and then James Harper's like, did you know Hank Henshaw was an alien? She's like, no, I did not. She's telling the truth. She takes it off, and Lucy's just kind of sitting there like, you're lying. I'm like, wait, what? he told you he was like a father to you, and that he told you a story about your father, and you're under arrest. What? What? This is the one thing that bugs me. I still don't understand why it happened. I still don't understand how it happened. But first of all, when they're interviewing Hank Henshaw, James Harper is like not listening to a word. He's ignorant. He's hard-headed. He's stupid. That's fine. I understand. He is. I mean, even Alex's dad in the flashback said humans can get pretty ignorant whenever it comes to being scared of aliens. I'm like, hey, James Harper. So that was well done. I understood why, but Lucy was kind of sitting there like she didn't feel good about this. It felt like she felt guilty about doing this because she didn't see the same thing James did. So whenever they go to Alex's interview, it doesn't make sense for her to all of a sudden just pop up and be like, "You're lying," and it came out of nowhere. Like at first, she had this look like she was sympathizing with Alex. And then just to all of a sudden go, "You're lying! You're under arrest!" So not only does that not make sense, but the fact that Alex passed the lie detector test, but because you think she's lying, you place her under arrest? Really? Is that how... I mean, the reason that it's not a terrible thing, normally I'd be like harping on this to no end, but the reason that it does kind of work in this episode is because this is all off books, so it's not like they're in a court of law and she passed the lie detector test and the jury said guilty anyway. It's kind of like you're in another country where they have their own law over there, that you're on trial, you're telling the truth, and then all of a sudden somebody's just like, no, they're lying, and they condemn you for it. So it does kind of make sense in the fact that this is all secret, it's off books. So for her to say you're lying, you're under arrest, makes more sense than if they were in a court and then the prosecution was like, you're lying, and then place them under arrest. That would make less sense. But it seriously does beg the question, like, how did that work? Like, what made Lucy just go, "You're lying"? I don't understand that. I really don't. And especially because it looked like Lucy was sympathizing with Hank. It looked like she was sympathizing with Alex. So for her to just go, "Yeah, you're under arrest," it felt like a swift change of character that didn't really have a reasoning for it. Unless I completely misread. It looked like she was sympathizing with them. Maybe she was supposed to look like she was not buying any of it. Maybe, I don't know. But it looked like she was sympathizing with them. So it was just a confusing scene. So yeah, that was the one problem I did have. But aside from that, the rest of the episode is really well done. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit more about Supergirl saving lives, and the public kind of being turned against her, so she tries to win them back. But that's not what this was about at all. It was about Hank Henshaw, Martian Manhunter, him being on trial by James Harper, the flashback showing all of these characters, all three of our main characters, Alex, Kara, and Hank. Should I call him Hank, or should I just go ahead and call him Jean Jones or Martian Manhunter? I mean, it feels like calling him Hank Henshaw now is just ludicrous, because everybody knows it's not Hank Henshaw. I'm going to call him Martian Manhunter. So we got to see kind of a flashback. We saw Martian Manhunter with Alex's dad when they went to go get him, saved him from a big snake, and then the real Hank Henshaw came up, shot him a couple times. Jeremiah fought him, got stabbed, but then threw Hank Henshaw off a cliff. So that's when Jean Johns became kind of the protector for Alex and Kara. We got to see Alex when she was first recruited to the DEO. It showed her partying to Party Rock Anthem. I was like, yeah, this is definitely a few years ago. Back when the song was popular. And then she's getting drunk. She's outside trying to get into her car drunk, and the cops pull up. I've never understood, it's one thing to arrest somebody when they're driving drunk. I've never understood when cops in shows will arrest somebody because they're about to get into their car drunk. It's like, is that against the law too? Maybe it is, but it just seems like that's happened a couple times where you see somebody stumbling out of the club, walking towards their car, pulling out the keys, and they're trying to find the lock, and then the cops pull up, and then they're arrested. It's like, is that illegal? It's not like they actually drove the car. It's like if a guy, well, that's not a good example. I was about to say if a guy pulled a gun but didn't actually shoot him, like, well, that's still a crime. Anyway, but that's just something, food for thought. But she's in jail, and then Hank, well, John Johns, gets her out of jail, recruits her to the DEO, and tells her this is how we're going to train, or we're going to train you here. And then we get to see a bit of Kara too. Back when she was a little girl in school, she, everybody's talking about her because she's the new kid, and then one guy invites Alex out somewhere, and she's like, but I have to babysit her, and she's like, well, bring her anyway. They're at the beach, she's all acting like, oh, birds, I don't have birds on my planet. And then hears a crash, goes and saves the woman and a baby inside from the crash, and then from the resulting explosion, the car door flies off, and I guess it hits Alex, but not too hard, because she ended up getting stitches for that. But because of that, her father sits her down and has that same similar talk that everybody harped on in The Man of Steel. When Clark's dad sits him down and he's like, what was I supposed to do? Let them all drown? He's like, I don't know. Maybe. This was worded much better. And also because, he did bring up, well, we already have a Superman in this world. It was worded better than just, you should have let that lady and her kid die. Or something along those lines. It was worded better because, we already do have a Superman, and, it's not your job to do that. So I don't know. It didn't sound as bad as, should I just let them drown? Maybe. That the main problem that everybody had with that is just, it was a little bit harsh. It wasn't that he just said, let them drown. He didn't really. But the way he said it just sounded so carefree. It's like, he saved lives. And you're just going to shrug it off like, you really shouldn't do that. Maybe you should. I don't know. It just sounded so carefree. But then we flash forward to when she first goes to work for Cat Grant, and we kind of see how, Cat Grant was expecting her to be like, oh yeah, I'm great, I'm the best. And because she's Supergirl and she has to hide that, she actually is very humble as far as Kara Danvers, because she doesn't want anybody to think she's special. And so Cat Grant saw that, and she's like, well, that's different. And then, of course, she does use her vision to see stuff and do all that stuff. But it was interesting to see that. And then that final scene where Kara, she reveals to Lucy about her secret identity. They drive on motorcycles, which I was like, motorcycles? What? That's pretty cool. They're driving on motorcycles to get Hank and Alex back. It was probably one of the more intense scenes. I mean, you got a guy shooting at them. How many times have we seen that type of shooting before in this show? It reminded me a bit of Arrow. Like I said, motorcycles, guns firing. It felt like Arrow, just a little bit. I was like, what is this? And there's something else about Arrow, kind of. CW. I'll get to that. But yeah, it was a good final scene. They managed to shoot out the tires on the truck. Hank and Alex managed to break free. They destroy the thing that's blocking John John's power. And then Jean manages to do his little mind meld thing or whatever, erases his memory of what happened, but also sees Jeremiah Danvers in that Project Campus. So apparently he's still alive, which is kind of a DC thing, making it seem like characters are dead and then, it turns out they're alive. But it's also interesting because now we have another plot to push forward. It's something else for the future. and Alex and Jean actually go to find him. So that's kind of interesting. But ultimately, it wraps up pretty well. Lucy gets appointed by the James Harper guy to head of the DEO. Apparently, Jean had something to do with that. So, now she's actually becoming a more interesting character, because before it just felt like she was there to make Kara jealous because she was with Jimmy. Now she actually feels like she has a role to play. Knowing Kara's identity as well as being the head of the DEO now makes her a bit more of a character. So I like seeing that. You had Shaban? Whatever her name is, the other assistant that was hating on Kara, that Kara got fired. She and Wynn were talking, and Wynn's just like, "You'll find a way back." She's like, "You're right, I will." And then she breaks into the office, types in hate email to Cat Grant from Kara's desk. Wynn analyzes the email, sees that it was typed at a different speed than Kara does, but it matches Shaban's speed exactly. I'm just like, that's interesting to see him stand up for Kara over her. That's gonna come back, and sure enough, it does. She's like, "You should have stood up for me and me." I'm just like, please, somebody stop her. And then the heel breaks. She falls off. I'm just like, please, splat, please. And then the way she's falling, I'm like, what, is Supergirl about to come and save her? Even though the fact that she probably should just... But she all of a sudden lets out like a banshee scream and keeps herself from hitting the ground. I'm like, what? What? Actually, I wasn't that surprised, because on IMDb, it had like another name next to Shaban, whatever. I'm gonna look it up right now. Really? Well, okay, it didn't, for some reason it didn't have it on this one. But on one of the past IMDb things, I was checking like the characters' names and stuff, because I needed to make tags for the video. And it had Siobhan Smythe / and had another name for her. So I'm like, you just gave that away. Really? Really? For somebody who doesn't know the comics very well, maybe I don't know that she's going to be a character that turns out to be somebody else. You just ruined that for me. So this, yeah. It was still kind of cool to see, but it wasn't a total surprise. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, overall, a very good episode. Very good follow-up to last week, which was a really good episode. This one was a good follow-up. This, furthers the story with Martian Manhunter, Jean-Jean's, furthers the story with Kara, furthers the story with Lucy, which I didn't expect. Shaban becomes a more important character now. But next week, I cannot wait. The Flash is coming to Supergirl. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. I thought it was never going to happen. I said so many times, I was just like, there are even people who have commented on my past videos who are like, I want to see them do a crossover, and I'm just like, I would love to see it too, but they're not going to do it, because, first of all, the tone in The Flash and Arrow are so much different than Supergirl. That was true, because Supergirl was all like, yeah, we're just going to have fun, and yay, fly, girl power. Whereas Arrow was very dark and dismal. The Flash, not as dark and dismal as Arrow. I'm only halfway through the first season on Netflix, so don't know how it's going now. But from what I've seen so far, it's not dark and dismal like the Arrow, but it's not as, yay, fight, girl power. It's nothing like that. It's much more fun than Arrow, but it still has a serious tone to it. So I didn't see them crossing over. And on top of that, those two are on the CW. This is on CBS. I was like, I don't see it happening. Obviously, now they can cross over TV networks. That's pretty cool. But the other thing is that these past two episodes for Supergirl have kind of been a change in tone. You know, they've had two like kind of serious episodes, or at least a bit more serious for this show than what the rest of the show has been. But these last two have really changed the tone to much more kind of grounded. Even though it is about Supergirl, who's not from this planet, it feels more serious now. It feels like it's really taking itself more seriously. And some people might say that's not a good thing, but I think it is, because now this crossover actually feels like it could happen, because it kind of does relate to the Flash a little bit. But now it's not all going to be like happy smiley faces on the show anymore. Now they've actually got some stuff to deal with. So I'm excited to see where they go with it. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this. Maybe Supergirl's going to end up on the Flash too. It's possible. But I guess the other thing that kind of won't help the crossover is that Arrow and the Flash feel like they're in fictional worlds. You know, they're Starling City, Central City. Yeah, you know, those are fictional worlds. They don't make a whole lot of references to actual movie stars, stuff like that. Supergirl is very much set in our world, just in a fictional city. Cat Grant, it feels like every other sentence coming out of her mouth is mentioning some sort of movie star. It's weird. I don't know how that's going to work. You know, it's like two fictional worlds that are clearly in fictional worlds coming to a fictional world that is set in our world. I don't know how that's going to handle. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for next week. I'm so happy that this show's on the upturn, because, like I said from the beginning when I was getting really frustrated, I wanted this show to be good. It's starting to get there. So hopefully they keep bringing it up, and doesn't stop. You know, doesn't take a break. Doesn't go, oh well, maybe we can just have a little crap episode here. No, just keep making it good. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe for more Supergirl. See you at the next review. Peace out.